All new, all true. Ripley's Believe It or Not.
Tonight on Ripley's. This beautiful little girl always had an uncanny love for cats. But not even her parents ever imagined that one day she'd become one.
In my dreams, I saw myself from head to toe with tiger stripes.
Only Ripley's takes you through Catwoman's fascinating feline transformation. 57-year-old motorcyclist Roger Riddell was born to ride.
I hate to brag, but I just feel like I'm the best.
But now this spunky senior could be headed for a hard landing. Kelly Packard is there as he tries to fly over a row of cars at 50 miles an hour while riding his Harley backwards. He might look like a 90-pound weakling, but don't let little Josh Campo fool you, because he has the power to outlift a grown man. And he's only 7 years old.
He doesn't realize his own strength sometimes.
Join us at the gym as Ripley's puts this mini muscle man to the weight test.
Okay.
Plus, can a prosthetic leg save this horse from a death sentence in tonight's Unbelievable Animals? One woman's mind-blowing talent for threading a needle with her tongue. And the seductress who poses with serpents so she can help save their skins.
Some snakes have the power to kill me just by squeezing me.
Only on Ripley's Believe It or Not.
Hello and welcome to Ripley's, where extraordinary people are par for the course. The Ripley's road trip continues to barrel across America, and tonight, Kelly Packard is in North Carolina. In her specially designed tour bus and pulling the world's largest rubber band ball, Kelly Packard is zigzagging across the country in search of America's most unbelievable people. From the sunny beaches of Florida and the nation's capital in Washington, D.C., to the bright lights of Sin City and the dry heat of the Mojave Desert, the ultimate end of her journey. There, Kelly will witness a Ripley's exclusive, dropping the world's largest rubber band ball from an airplane more than a mile in the sky. This time, Kelly's caught up with a man who gets just about everything backwards. Kelly?
Hey, Kelly Packard, crossing America on the Ripley's road trip. Right now, I'm in Charlotte, North Carolina. Hello, Charlotte! I'm at the Lowe's Motor Speedway, and there are more than 20,000 people here for what they call the Good Guys Weekend. Roger Riddell is one of those good guys, and he joins me now. Welcome, Roger.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Now, obviously, you're riding this bike backwards. Why is that?
Well, I'm going to jump these 6 cars sitting on this Harley Davidson backwards. I'll look over my shoulder. When I'm coming down through there, I'll turn back around and I'll just go by the feel of the bike.
So how fast do you have to be going in order to clear these 6 cars?
About 50 miles an hour.
That's pretty fast. Have you ever gotten hurt doing this?
I broke 50 bones.
All right, well, it's truly unbelievable what you're about to attempt. Personally, I can't even imagine the time and effort you've had to put into this. All right, let's take a look at how you got started. Roger Riddell's been riding and racing motorcycles for more than 40 years. And in that time, he's learned to do it all.
I hate to brag, but, you know, I've deserved it, and I just feel like I'm the best.
Having built his first motorcycle when he was only 14, with $50 and a garage full of spare parts, Roger soon realized riding it backwards was a good way to show off. And while he's been the best in the world ever since, when it comes to going backwards, Roger falls a lot. And all this hard riding hasn't come without a price.
I've had broken hips, broken arms, and probably 8 pounds of metal in my body. I've had 2 plates in my arm. I never learned my lesson, and I'm still doing it. I'm at the age of 57, and I love to do it.
Okay, we're just moments away from one of the most unbelievable events ever attempted on Ripley's. Roger Riddell will ride his motorcycle sitting backwards, hit that ramp, and launch himself 60 feet over those cars and hit his landing. History will be made right here on Ripley's Believe It or Not, coming up.
The world is full of people who collect strange and unusual things, from rare coins and stamps to Beanie Babies and Pokemon cards. But the guy you're about to meet has a killer collection unlike any other. And every time he adds a new piece, he's nearly blown away. Aki Ra has a hobby that puts him face to face with danger every single day, risking life and limb to build his one-of-a-kind collection. Because believe it or not, Aki Ra collects landmines.
I'm crazy about landmines. I am obsessed about landmines.
Here in Cambodia, a nation of roughly 12 million people, the countryside is still littered with over 5 million landmines, left behind after decades of military struggle.
I help my country and I clear the landmine every week, every month.
Amazingly, despite the fact that some landmines use tripwires that are hard to see, and others that are buried just beneath the earth, Aki has a unique ability to spot the mines and then defuse them with just his bare hands.
I clear about 20,000 landmines.
Incredibly, despite clearing thousands and thousands of the treacherous devices, Aki has never had a single accident. Today, with Ripley's cameras rolling, Aki will take his life into his very hands with every step as he scours this former battlefield searching for undetonated explosives. Using just a wooden stick and no safety gear, Aki makes his way into the minefield.
When I go to the minefield, I look the land. I know the land they lay mine long time ago or just new mine that they lay.
For most people, this would be their worst nightmare. But Aki is willing to take the risk to build both his collection and make his country a safer place. But one slight misstep could lead to disaster, not only costing him a limb, but possibly his very life. With his trained eye, Aki spots a landmine and cautiously approaches the explosive, not knowing if this could be the one that ends his life. He then uses his hands and a small garden shovel to dig it out of the earth, always aware that any slight movement could set off the deadly device. With just a small wrench, he slowly begins to take it apart. While a professional bomb squad would take this deadly weapon away and dispose of it, Aki actually defuses it on sight, right in front of his face. And once this brave souvenir hunter renders the explosive safe, Aki discards it. But if it's historical or rare, he adds it to his personal collection of over 5,000. It's a dangerous obsession, but Aki truly believes the reward is much greater than the risk.
I want my country to be safe and people can walk everywhere.
Believe it. Despite all the technology man has available in the 21st century, no single piece of electronic equipment can detect a buried landmine better than the nose of man's best friend. Now, imagine trying to lift double your weight off the ground. Most people can't do it, so imagine our surprise when Ripley's found someone who could, and that someone turned out to be a 7-year-old kid.
Weightlifting has always been considered a man's sport. Until now. Because, believe it or not, one world champion weightlifter is already competing against men and beating them. And he's just 7 years old.
All the audience is watching me, and it's just, I feel like everybody's rooting for me.
Born and raised in Santa Ana, California, Josh Campo is your average first grader who loves to play with his friends. And when he's not running around outdoors, he can usually be found inside the house, as strange as it may seem, lifting things.
He doesn't realize his own strength sometimes.
But his unusual weightlifting ability wasn't discovered at home. It was at a local sporting goods store where Josh shocked everyone by simply bending over and lifting an 80-pound barbell.
I was just in a state of shock that, a kindergartner could pick up that much weight.
Concerned about whether lifting heavy weights would have an adverse effect on Josh, his parents consulted a pediatrician.
I think with any physical activity, there is some inherent risk. Let it out slowly. The risk can be minimized by making sure that the child is being monitored by somebody who's knowledgeable in the field.
With his physician's go-ahead, Josh's dad began coaching his super strong son, and soon Josh was raking in the awards. In fact, this elementary school kid is currently ranked best lifter, having received the prestigious title at the World Championship in Laughlin, Nevada, beating out everyone in the competition. And to prove once again just how strong he is, Josh, who weighs a mere 65 pounds, will attempt to break his current world record by deadlifting a whopping 144 pounds. That's more than double his body weight.
That's good.
To demonstrate just how difficult this is, Ripley's put a couple of gym rats to the test to see if they could deadlift the equivalent of double their body weight, or 350 pounds.
It is hard. I can't even move it.
These experienced athletes couldn't even get it off the ground.
I think I'm in good shape, but I don't know how a kid could possibly do that.
Watch it out. Here we go.
With his competition out of the picture, Josh prepares for his lift with some light stretching to loosen his muscles.
All right.
After pulling up his singlet, Josh's dad tightens his belt for additional back support, and Josh approaches the bar. With chalk coating his palms and fingers, Josh grips the bar tightly and plants his feet firmly.
Okay.
But will he really be able to do it?
Hands, good. Bring it close.
Josh explodes with maximum force.
Got it. Lock it. Very nice. Down. Excellent.
Lifting an amazing 144 pounds, more than twice his body weight.
Got it. Lock it. Very nice. Down.
And this mini musclehead is quick to offer a bit of advice to other kids who may be thinking about following in his footsteps.
Children, do not attempt this at home.
Believe it.
We'll be right back.
Next, Emma Richards was too short for the job she always wanted. So she painfully stretched her body over 5 inches. You'll squirm when you hear how she did it. Also, this poor horse is about to be put down. Unless vets can pull off the ultimate rescue, we'll show you the incredible invention that could save him in tonight's Unbelievable Animals. Plus, she has no arms, but that hasn't stopped one seamstress from creating these incredible designs using only her tongue. And meet the alluring model who's really getting wrapped up in her work. One animal lover's amazing mission to save the snakes when Ripley's returns. Ripley's world of unbelievable animals.
Most horse lovers have always realized that if their animal breaks a leg, chances are their pet will have to be put down. Well, that's until one die-hard animal lover found a way to beat the odds. Now she's got the first horse in history who wears a state-of-the-art prosthetic hoof.
When horses become seriously injured, their fate is often quickly determined. Sadly, they're put to sleep. But this steadfast stallion may have a chance at trampling the odds. Because believe it or not, in a revolutionary procedure, this horse is about to be fitted with a prosthetic foot. When owner Jan Munns first noticed 12-year-old Barnaby favoring his right foot, she took him to get help. The diagnosis left Jan devastated. Veterinarian Chris Coles determined Barnaby's hoof was one giant blood clot. 9 inches of his leg had to be removed.
The arteries had clotted from this level downwards.
But would Barnaby be able to live without a leg? Unlike cats and dogs, horses can't balance on only 3 legs. Jan had to do something fast.
He's a dear friend. You don't let a dear friend die. I wouldn't let a child die, so why should he die?
Desperate, Jan began thinking outside the box to find a solution. How about fitting a horse with a prosthetic leg like a human? With her creative idea to save Barnaby, she turned to Dr. Bob Watts, a pioneer in the field of artificial limbs.
My initial reaction was one of, well, I don't really want to get too involved because I've never done it before.
But Jan's persistence persuaded Dr. Watts to attempt this unique procedure. And although he'd never fitted an animal with a prosthesis, using a similar technique that he uses for humans, he created a limb for this hobbling horse. Now, only 3 months later, Barnaby's back on his feet with the help of this specially designed FiberFlex foot. And although Jan spent nearly $40,000, the look in Barnaby's eyes makes it worth every cent.
There's been lots of times when I thought I might lose Barnaby, but always said, I'll never give up.
Believe it.
We travel to India in tonight's Ripley's World Tour.
You're about to meet a woman who does amazing things with her tongue. Just watch.
Threading a needle requires precise hand-eye coordination. Unless you're Sapna Goel. She uses eye-tongue coordination. Believe it or not, this incredible teen does all her sewing by mouth.
इसलिए मुझे सिलाई करना बहुत मुश्किल लगता था, इसलिए मैंने सिलाई करना सीख लिया.
This brave 18-year-old was born a happy, healthy baby. Then she contracted polio. Soon the disease had strangled the strength from her arms and legs, leaving them withered and drawn. Doctors told Sapna's mother her little girl's chances of leading a productive life were almost impossible. But Sapna grew up with other ideas. And now, most of the time, she's too busy to care what other people think. When she's not in school, she's doing homework with her brothers. Sapna loves to paint as well. Holding the brush in her teeth, she expresses herself with steady, defined strokes. As inspiring as her artwork is, this young woman's most impressive skill is her sewing. Learning to stitch before she was even 10 years old, Sapna makes it look all too easy, manipulating the tiny thread until she finds the eye and slips the thread through the hole. And amazingly, she does it on a manual sewing machine.
सिलाई करते हुए मैं जीभ से धागा डालती हूँ और मुंह से मशीन चलाती हूँ.
Then, positioning the fabric, she slowly rolls over to the other side and begins the laborious stitching process. Displaying incredible patience, each spin of the wheel requires a coordinated effort of chin and mouth. Till finally, after 1 hour of painstaking work, the last few stitches are in place. And proudly, this unbelievable team has finished yet another project. Believe it.
If you're wondering, it takes Sapna less than 30 seconds to thread a needle with her tongue.
Emma Richards always aspired to soar as a flight attendant. But at just 4'7", her chances were literally cut short. So she had her legs broken and stretched like taffy over 5 inches. Only Ripley's brings you the story behind her bizarre body modification. Plus, Kelly Packard and the Ripley's road trip make a pit stop at this speedway to witness their riskiest act ever.
Roger Riddell will ride his motorcycle sitting backwards, hit that ramp, and launch himself 60 feet over those cars and hit his landing. History will be made right here on Ripley's Believe It or Not, coming up.
Emma Richards stopped growing at 4 feet 7 inches, almost a foot shorter than all of her friends. Emma would hide at home, embarrassed of her size. But on her 15th birthday, Emma asked for something so bizarre, even her parents couldn't believe it. She wanted to be stretched to over 5 feet tall. Looking at Emma Richards today, you would never know the lengths that she's gone to transform her physical appearance. Enduring a surgery so extreme, it took a full year to recover. And that's because, believe it or not, Emma actually had her legs broken and surgically stretched to increase her height.
When I was told about surgery, I didn't think about the breaking of the legs and having 6 pins in each leg and a big metal bar on the outside. I just didn't think about that at all. I just thought of the end result, being taller.
As a little girl growing up in England, Emma was always on the small side.
She wasn't very big at all. She went to play school, and all the other 3-year-olds were bigger than her. And that's when I noticed that she was really, really tiny.
And as Emma got older, the situation only grew worse. She endured cruel teasing from kids at school and often would retreat crying to her room. Finally, Irene Richards, Emma's mother, took her daughter to a doctor for tests and x-rays. The results were unsettling. At 14 years old and only 4 feet 7 inches, Emma had stopped growing. To add to her pain, she soon learned that her lifelong dream of becoming a flight attendant would not be possible because of her small stature. The height requirement to work on many airlines is 5'1". Emma was 6 inches too short, but her parents were desperate to help their daughter.
We asked the doctor, can we do something about it? And they said, well, she's too old for hormone treatment. And they said, well, there is an operation out there that can be done for children of short stature.
The procedure would involve breaking both of her legs and adding an external brace, allowing Emma to turn the screws, slowly widening the gaps while allowing new bone to fill them in.
So these will be sticking out through the skin to give it some stability. The large metal bar over the side with these little tracks that are free to move up and down like a railway line.
It's a difficult operation with serious risks, possibly including permanent loss of sensation and mobility in her legs.
It's 50-50 whether it's successful or not. And it's the 50% that's not successful is the frightening bit. That's when you start to panic.
Despite the danger and with the full support of her parents, Emma decides to undergo the extreme surgery.
Before the surgery, it's like waiting for a new present or something. I was just like, I couldn't sleep because I was so excited.
The operation begins with doctors breaking both of Emma's legs in 2 places. They then screw 6 5-inch pins into each bone and attach them to the metal frame, being careful to maintain Emma's delicate bone structure. And after 6 tedious hours, the operation is complete. But the questions remain. Will Emma regain feeling and use of her legs? And will the radical lengthening procedure even work?
When I woke up from the operation, I can't really remember much, but what I can remember is not feeling my legs through the numbness and asking my mum to lift the cover to check my legs were still there. I can't remember, but Mum said I did actually cry with excitement and happiness.
Following the surgery, Emma spends 2 weeks recovering in the hospital. Her first steps are excruciatingly painful. But Emma, determined as ever, endures the pain. Helping speed along her recovery is a very special letter she receives from Richard Branson, CEO of Virgin Atlantic Airlines. He tells her she's mad to have had such an operation, but promises her a job interview as soon as she turns 19. And amazingly, after a year of painfully stretching her broken legs 4 times a day, the surgery proves to be an overwhelming success. Today, at 18 years old, Emma is half a foot taller and a much happier girl.
My life is completely different. I look at everything differently. I look at myself differently. I look at my friends differently. I look at my family differently. I just love everything now.
One of the many things Emma loves to do now is shop. And for the first time in her life, she's able to buy clothes with her friends instead of having to go to the children's section.
I can actually go shopping with them now and not feel like a little kid with them tagging along.
And Emma's also working toward her career goals, looking forward to her 19th birthday when she becomes eligible to pursue her dream and become a flight attendant.
I still get comments to this day about me being mad or stupid, but it's made me happier. It's made me feel like I'm living now. So let them say what they want. It doesn't bother me anymore.
Next, the lifelong obsession that drove this beautiful little girl to fulfill her deepest desire and metamorphosize into a cat.
I always enjoyed having the feline energy around me in my life.
Meet the real Catwoman next. Plus, Dean flips through the pages of the world's smallest book, and you'll flip when you see what he found inside.
It's so small that you need a magnifying glass to read it.
Also, how one stunning model is using her curves to rescue the reptiles when Ripley's returns.
Now let's head back to Charlotte, North Carolina, where Kelly Packard and the Ripley's road trip have come across a man who's about to perform a motorcycle jump with a reverse twist. Kelly?
Thanks, Dean. I'm here at the Lowe's Motor Speedway in Charlotte, North Carolina, and we are about to witness an incredible demonstration of skill. Roger Riddell is going to attempt to jump his motorcycle over 60 feet, but here's the catch. He's going to do it while riding his motorcycle backwards. Hey, Roger.
Hi,
good to have
Kelly.
you with us.
Nice to meet you.
So how long have you been riding motorcycles?
40 years.
40 years. And how did you discover you could ride them backwards?
Well, I just got on one day and I figured, well, this, it takes a skill to do it, and I finally learned how to do it, so I started doing it backwards.
Well, what special ability did you need to have to be able to ride it backwards? Like, could I just ride it backwards?
Yeah, with a lot of skill.
A lot of skill.
I tell everybody not to do this, though.
Okay, well, it's one thing to ride backwards, but you're going to attempt a pretty substantial jump here, right? 60 feet over those parked cars?
Yes, it is.
Okay, now can you explain to us how you plan on staying balanced for this?
Well, I'm on a heavy bike. That's the biggest part of it, because the bike weighs 425 pounds. And I come down through there 50 mile an hour, and I hit that ramp. And if I'm running 50 mile an hour, I'm pretty well going to get on that down ramp. I got to hit the ramp, right speed, get in the middle of it to land on that trailer.
So obviously, you are a trained professional, so no one should try this at home.
You're right, nobody.
Okay, now standard motocross bikes are too light to race backwards, so Roger is forced to ride a 425-pound Harley Davidson, twice the weight of the average bike. The extra weight means more stability, but it also is harder to control. Okay, so are you sure that you still want to go ahead and do this?
I'm ready.
You're ready? Well, I think that we're ready. Why don't you go ahead over there? Good luck to you. All righty, and I'll see you afterwards. Everybody, wish him luck. Now, we have paramedics standing by should anything go wrong. All right, he's putting his gear on, securing it. Now he's going to get ready and start his bike here. The bike is started. Let's cheer him on, guys! Okay, he's getting on his bike. Here he goes. Here he comes. He's going to make a pass. And if he waves at the crowd, this is it. And here it is, you guys. He's ready to do this. Big applause. He needs your support. He's ready to do this. You guys ready? Here he comes. Here he goes, guys. How do you feel?
Feel good.
You made it. You cleared 6 cars.
Feel good.
All right, well, we loved it. That was amazing. Roger Riddell jumping his motorcycle 60 feet through the air over 6 cars here at the Lowe's Motor Speedway in Charlotte, North Carolina. And that was great. And you saw it only on Ripley.
Kelly Packard heads back out on the road as she continues to cross America. Find out where she ends up next week when the Ripley's road trip makes its next stop. Next, this beautiful lock of platinum hair once belonged to the biggest movie bombshell in the world. You won't believe the morbid story behind the fan who snagged it off her corpse. Plus, she's the only woman on Earth to take her physical transformation this far. Her painful path to becoming a cat is next. And meet the model stripping down to save the snakes. Only on Ripley's.
Here in the library at the Ripley's warehouse, you can find some of the most unusual books in the world. Take, for example, this, the world's smallest book. A German company with a miniature printing press is responsible for this leather-bound tome the size of a match head. It's so small that you need a magnifying glass to read it and tweezers to turn the 26 printed pages of this miniature book, which contains the alphabet. This next story is much easier to see, so watch this.
Enter Robert Ripley's archives.
Robert Ripley, leave it or not. Leave it or not.
The year is 1945. The British Admiralty tests its bold new airstrip, which, believe it or not, actually floats on water. Dubbed the Lily Pad, this durable runway is built to allow a 4-ton plane to take off and land in emergency situations. And as if touching down on solid ground wasn't difficult enough, these brave pilots have an added danger to contend with: high tide. But with the advent of much heavier bombers needing massive aircraft carriers on which to operate, floating airstrips become a thing of the past.
Leave it or not.
How many of us have secret dreams of taking on a whole new persona, reinventing ourselves? Well, the woman you're about to meet did just that. But instead of a someone, she assumed the identity of a something. Looks can be deceiving. And when it comes to this woman, that's especially true. While she's a wife, mother, and professional businesswoman, underneath this ordinary exterior lurks something entirely different.
This is a total fraud. I'm not myself right now.
Because believe it or not, beneath layers of makeup and a wig, this woman is transforming herself into a cat.
I always enjoyed having the feline energy around me in my life. Their nature, they're inquisitive, they're curious, and I am a curious person.
Growing up, Katzen, as she's now known, was a Navy brat, constantly moving around, living in 30 different states, and even spending a year in Japan. But one thing that remained constant was her love of cats.
Ever since I was probably 7 years old, I can remember having very different cats when I was growing up.
And even at an early age, Katzen had dreams of her body and face covered with the markings of a cat. But it wasn't until she turned 18 that she felt compelled to bring her feline vision to life. Beginning with tattoos on her arms and legs, and then moving to her body, and eventually, even her face. Now, 9 years and hundreds of excruciating hours of tattoos later, this is Katzen today. At 27, she holds the distinction of being the only woman in history to have a full-body theme tattoo. And incredibly, Katzen hasn't spent a single dime on her physical transformation.
I have never hired a tattoo artist to do a tattoo on my body. However, there have been 182 different contributors to my tattoos.
She's even gone so far as to have artificial whiskers pierced right into her face.
My whiskers are actually piercings, so that I can wear different lengths in them if I choose to.
Making a living as a tattoo artist and as a musician in the band The Human Marvels, Katzen continually tries to shock audiences with her outrageous onstage antics. And given the extreme nature of her physical transformation, Katzen is used to curious looks and stares wherever she goes.
People do react with a lot of shock and amazement. And I really like pushing the limits for people to wake them up a little bit, you know?
But when she wants to just blend in with the crowd, some makeup and a wig allow her the freedom of anonymity. As for the future, Katzen is playing it by ear, following wherever her feline instincts may take her.
I don't think there is a single person on this planet that could really say, oh, I'm going to be doing this when I'm 80. I mean, do you have your entire life planned? No. Most people don't. You plan as much as you can, you go with it.
Katzen has a number of snakes and scorpions as pets. Ironically, she does not own a single cat. Her theory is that now that she's one herself, she wouldn't want to compete with another feline.
Still ahead, the beauty disrobing so she can save these slithering serpents' lives.
I started seeing how animals were treated, and I really wasn't happy with it.
One model's risky mission to rescue these reptiles when Ripley's returns. And the bone-chilling story behind this ghastly lock of Marilyn Monroe's hair when Dean reveals one of Hollywood's darkest mysteries, buried inside the Ripley's vault. Next. Amazing stories and unbelievable people. Ripley's Believe It or Not.
This is a 12-foot Burmese python named Monty. A member of the constrictor family, these guys make great climbers and swimmers. Though not venomous, they are feared for crushing and suffocating their prey, just like Monty's trying to do to me right now. And while that might be enough to keep most people at arm's length, it doesn't rattle Maria Guerra. Take a look. Ravishing Maria Guerra loves to model for the camera. But this alluring lady does it with a twist. That's because Maria is one beauty who loves to pose with beasts. And believe it or not, she takes these slitheringly seductive shots to help save these snakes' lives. Maria has had a lifelong obsession with snakes, caring for abandoned reptiles that are sick or that grow too big for their owners to handle.
She's got some orange spots, and I want to make sure it's just color and not actually a bacterial infection.
Beginning at the age of 5, Maria's interest continued to grow until she eventually became a licensed exotic animal handler, working hard to educate people about the demands of caring for reptilian pets at home.
They're animals that need a lot of attention, a lot of care, and I just hate to think that the animals are being purchased and then they just suffer a very slow, painful death because they're not taken care of properly.
But Maria faced a huge problem, getting people to pay attention to the plight of these reptiles. So the part-time model came up with an unusual solution, posing with her snakes.
I think people looked twice and said, you know what, here's something to look at, here's something to hire.
Suddenly, these slithering serpents were launching Maria's career. And the best part? She was saving the animals she loves. But taking a beautiful picture with a boa wrapped around you isn't exactly easy. In fact, at times it can be downright dangerous. And Maria is always quick to warn others not to try what she does.
I do have some snakes that do have the power to kill me if they really wanted to, just by squeezing me. I have been bit by snakes before. Having snakes as long as I have, it's almost unavoidable. I have to have 2 or 3 people that can move them around for me because we have to take, 50 to 100 shots just to get some of the ones of the snake right.
1, 2, 3.
And now, not only is Maria's career thriving, so are her animals. She currently has over 40 creatures living with her and plans to use the money she makes from commercial and internet modeling to care for even more of her favorite reptiles. Believe it. This artifact is on loan to Ripley's from John Resnikoff's personal collection of historical hair. These could be the most valuable split ends on Earth. Certified, authenticated, and currently valued at $50,000, this bleach blonde lock of hair was snipped off by the mortician who assisted in embalming the body of this Hollywood star. Apparently, the head of the deceased was so swollen that surgery had to be performed on the back of the neck before the public viewing. And this sample was taken from the trash can by the mortician's wife, a loyal, longtime fan of the dearly departed. Have you guessed it by now? These strands belong to none other than Marilyn Monroe. Unbelievable? Believe it.
Only those with the guts.
All right, let's do this.
Win the glory. Fear Factor. Back-to-back episodes. Tonight starting at 7. Only on Chiller. It only takes one giant evil truck.
Can you get down from there before something bad happens?
To make a road trip suck.
What's with this place? Everyone's acting so weird.
We need to get away from the truck. Roadkill. Wednesday at 7. Only on Chiller. Scary good.